If you are interested in the latest updates about the way how the future looks like, the fabrics of the future here in the West, if you want to know the formula, the equation, how to properly look into the future, I will show it to you now and I will explain it to you. Every honor particle here in the West has a purpose. Summarizing this purpose is like solve the problem of the West timeline. All particles run on generational honor. While doing so, from high to low, effective or not, will become incapable when generational honor runs out. At this point, destinical trade with Westerners will only create soul debtor ties instead of transfer of generational honor percentage in relation to destinical performance increase. This creates territorial expansion, and at the same time, karmic holes in particle timelines will create enemy appearance. Battling that will create tribe or clan transfers, aka acquiring new members to your group. That's the cold coding, and I will do what I can to explain. So as explained before in these podcasts, there is a timeline with a purpose, and the West has a division of honor going on where the United States President is the supreme commander of the timeline, and the United States President has a weapon which is called the Spirit of the Illuminati. So the Spirit of the Illuminati is like the spider web where all the honor particles are on, and then the timeline is confronted with something that the US President is theoretically fighting, and he's making the actions, and then the system, the collective, reacts towards the needs of the US President, whether you have layers of society assisting the creation of more active supportive layers of society. And this fabrics of consciousness in the collective, particles of honor, in the end sustains a system that assists the agenda of the White House, and that in itself is the assistance of the agenda of, well, whatever heaven is presenting before it, which is like a karmic mirror. So this is a fluent timeline, and it's like a dream where everyone has a character. There are characters in the dream, and then the center character is the US President. And when the karma of the collective, the karma of the West becomes bad, things will be attracted into this Westerner dream, problems, and then the system will adapt, and then all the particles will start adapting to assist the orchestrator of the timeline, the US President, the harmonizer. That's the original intent, to save the system, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have a lot of honor, if your generational line, if your forefathers and so on created positive karmic balance for you and your family and your timeline, then you are inheriting that, and then you have a lot of luck or fortune or blessings during your time on this earth in this Westerner timeline, whereby you're able to be a constructive factor to the surroundings, and your surroundings could be a constructive factor to the bigger agenda, aka to help solve the problems of West timeline. So here in the West, everyone is running on generational blessings, generational karmic currency, generational karmic philosophy, which is simply translated as honor, family honor, honor of the state, all kinds of structures of honor. And there is a division of honor, a ranking system here in the West. And some of the West is very effective in solving problems, and some of the West is creating problems. Well, it will all just come to a halt. All the generational energy will make the particles of the Spirit of the Illuminati, the collective mind, the collective consciousness, ineffective at fighting the problems of the West. So problems will increase. So at this moment of time, the West is not yet collapsed. The timeline has not stopped yet. So when people inside of the West, like me, start going around producing, solving problems, like how I am providing you with future foresight, this future foresight might adapt your thinking. It might adapt your action taking. You might enter the future more properly prepared, whereby you will not go down in ignorance. So my action can have a positive reaction upon you, but you have a particle right here in the destiny of the West, and a percentage of that will flow into me. As that's called a payment of that's called soul trade or destinical trade. So this can go on here in the West. So when you are doing something out there, whatever you're doing, and it assists the people around you, well, they have a certain amount of birthright, and the better you influence their timeline into the positive, from a negative to a positive karmic timeline, the more of that honor that they have will be transferred to you. It's like a ranking system that can change by interacting within families, within countries. Here in the West, everyone is doing what he or she can do in this body, which is called the spirit of the Illuminati, the weapon of the U.S. president. A part of the body thinks, a part of the body walks, a part of the body smells. Everyone has its purpose, and if you intentionally do more than you're supposed to do, you can create karmic ripple effects whereby people have to pay you by universal law, action reaction, their percentage of their family honor, whereby your personal family honor increases, whereby you become more imminent in this grand timeline. That's a little bit how this works. However, when everyone's generational energy runs out, there is no more such trait. Then there come a time in the near future where this occurs, and the problems of the West will become bigger, but the spirit of the Illuminati cannot use the web of order particles to assist the US president in this agenda of countering whatever is threatening the West, whereby problems will compound and people will no longer have generational blessings to solve it, whereby everyone is going to be confronted with an end of the timeline, like an end game. Like if you ever seen a video footage of end game type of the end, the Ragnarok, the end of the timeline, the apocalypse, this type of thinking, this type of event, supernatural reckoning, the twilight, that kind of stuff will start falling upon the West massively. When that timeline comes, and individuals might still have a little bit of honor left that is not based upon generational energy, aka self-made people who are not literally are not successful because of what their ancestors have done, karmically seen, but people that came out of nowhere and have fundaments of success in their personality and their characteristics, whereby they're able to create a first generational positive timeline. You know, in the old days, they would call that new money, or, that's what it is. It's not new, it's not necessarily money, but it's a little bit to help your mind understand a cultural context. The new money that's walking around on this earth is not arrogant, proud. Oh, I am the, I am this, I am that. No, it's not entitled. It's not vain, because it's not based upon inheriting something. So everyone who has an attitude that comes with inheritance will hit the karmic wall, and then you have the individuals out there that are not, their timeline is not fueled by that energy. Yeah, you might, as if you're part of that system, you might not have enough to actually do something positive for the system itself, but that doesn't mean you cannot do anything. So the moment the problems compound and you still have first generational energy, which will be a very rarity, people like that, these very rare people, when they go around in the West, in the dream of the West, the story, the narrative, the script, this mechanics I'm describing, if you then go around and continue trading, destinical trade, solving problems for others who are making problems, what will happen is that you will create soul deputize. It's like when somebody is about to die and you stop that person from dying, something inside that person, like honor or sense of honor, will go like, I owe you forever, or I owe you one. That's called a soul deputize. Person will internally be having a feeling like being in debt to another person, whereby instead of you doing what you're doing to solve the problems of the timeline, instead of generational honor being transferred, all of a sudden people will be karmically in debt to you, so that in the future, when their karma is better and they're able to solve problems, that they have a season of assisting you in your timeline solving your problems. Their certain type of karmic chains will go around them, whereby they have to serve you in an equal amount to be free again from the influence you have performed upon them. So instead of becoming more blessed, instead of your karma becoming better, instead of your timeline harmonizing, people will become chained to your destiny, and they have to perform a certain thing to be released from that. That's what will start happening. And at the same time, because these problems are compounding, curses in the form of enemies will show up in the West's destiny. And then people who still have energy to solve the problems might actually do damage to these enemies that will show up in the destiny of the West. And if you successfully do that, what will happen is that the person that is attracting these physical, military, combative problems, when you solve those problems, everyone in the West has a certain generational birthright, groups, clans, cliques, who have members, who have emotional ties. I belong to that side of the river. I belong to that church. I belong to that temple. I belong to that school. I belong to this community. People have a sense where they belong to. While the moment the enemies of the West walk in there to administrate the bad karma in that sense, and you stop that, then the payment is different. It's an increase in territory. It's a change of membership, a change of balance in how many followers you have in a modern sense, how much influence you have in the destiny of the West. That's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. So solve the West's problems, and then when you do that, you will increase in generational honor, which will increase your imminency in the timeline itself. But at one point that won't work anymore because it will run out. And when you now continue doing what is effectively working for you, if it works for you, is that you will increase your territory and increase the member of your following, whether that be religious, political, or whatever you're busy with.